Hi and welcome to task 7.4. Here we are going to discuss about the ecosystem process, that is energy flow, and we'll understand energy flow through food chains and food webs. So we have already studied about the structure of an ecosystem. So basically ecosystem is the interaction between the living and non-living things in a habitat or in an area. You can pause the video and take a look at this flowchart to recall what the ecosystem structure looks like. Thank you for pausing. Let's move to understanding about ecosystem processes. So ecological process or ecosystem processes are basically interactions that happen between plants and animals, or plants and the environment, or animals and the environment. And it is very important for these processes to happen as it keeps the ecosystems healthy. When the ecosystem is healthy, the biodiversity of the ecosystem is maintained. Biodiversity means an ecosystem will have diverse or variety of living organisms in it. Pause the video for a moment and try to match these keywords with their meanings. Thank you for pausing. So these are the answers for the keyword match. The producers are organisms that can perform photosynthesis. Food chain is a diagram which shows what is the relationship between producer, primary, secondary, and tertiary consumer. Photosynthesis is a process by which plants can make carbohydrates using carbon dioxide and water with the help of the energy from the sun. We all know that carnivores are animals which feed on the flesh of the secondary and tertiary consumers. Herbivores is just another name of primary consumers, that is animals who feed on plants. Respiration is again a process which involves release of energy from food, and this energy is later used by the organisms to perform other activities like movement, digestion, etc. Coming to the ecosystem process and understanding energy flow. So there are basically 4 to 5 important processes that keep on happening in an ecosystem to make the ecosystem function healthily and stably. One of those processes that we will explore in this 7.4 activity is energy flow. The other processes are photosynthesis, respiration, biotic interaction, and nutrient cycling. We will go through these processes one by one. If you remember, we have already studied about biotic interactions, that is ecological relationship between different species in a habitat through predation, symbiosis, and competition. Now we are going to study another ecological process or ecosystem process, that is how energy flows in an ecosystem, and we'll study that through food chains and food web. So what is energy flow? Energy flow is basically the energy that comes from the sun. We say sun is the primary source of energy in any ecosystem. In any ecosystem, as you're looking at this diagram, every ecosystem will have these components. So within these components, you can see some components are biotic and some are abiotic. So here in the diagram, the most important abiotic factor is sunlight. Because of the sunlight, the primary producers, that is the plants, can make food. So they use sun's energy to convert carbon dioxide and water into something that will give them energy, that is carbohydrates. Then this caterpillar will feed on this plant, and actually the food that the caterpillar is getting is chemical energy. So what actually is happening is the light energy from the sun is getting converted to food, which is the chemical energy, and this chemical energy, that is carbohydrate, can now be utilized by this caterpillar as food. Now why is the caterpillar eating the plant? Because the caterpillar will then do respiration and convert the food that is the plant into energy. What will it do with its energy? It will move, it will protect itself from predator, it will digest food, it will excrete waste materials. To do all of these things, the caterpillar needs energy. So it's getting that energy from the producer. Then this caterpillar will be eaten by a bird. So this bird might not just have one caterpillar, but will have 10 to 20 in, say, a span of a few days. So each caterpillar will contain some energy that now becomes food for this bird. Again, chemical energy is transferred in the form of food from one animal to other. And finally, this hawk is the primary predator, the tertiary consumer, which will be the main predator of this ecosystem, which feeds on these small birds. What is the role of these mushrooms and tiny insects that you see? They are the decomposers. All these animals and plants in this ecosystem will produce waste materials. That is, they will excrete or they will defecate, produce stool. All of this will go into the soil, and the microorganisms will break them into organic materials and add them back to the soil. What is the advantage that they get when they do this? When they break down the waste materials from the plants and animals, they add nutrients to the soil, but they themselves also get energy from some of these nutrients. So this is how energy will flow from the sun to all the plants and animals on earth. So this whole demonstration through a food chain shows how energy is flowing in an ecosystem. This is one of the most important process that keeps the ecosystem alive. One very important thing that we have to remember while studying energy flow is biomass. What is biomass? So if you take the mass of all the living things in an area, that is the biomass of that area. Biomass is also referred to as mass of particular type of matter. So let's say mass of all the leaves or of all the producers. So how will you measure it? You will measure it in gram per meter square. So you will divide the area into 1111 meter square, and then in each meter square how many leaves are there? You weigh it. So that is the biomass of the leaves. Suppose I want to find out the biomass of all the herbivorous animals. So again I'll divide my area of investigation into small blocks, and in each block, that is 1 meter square area, how many herbivores are there, I'll count and I'll calculate their mass. So that is the biomass of the herbivores. That way you can calculate the biomass of every living organisms or every consumer, every producer. Within an organism's niche, the organism interacts with the ecosystem in two ways. So when an organism is doing its function in the ecosystem, it is actually interacting with the ecosystem when it is finding its food, or when it is providing energy back to the ecosystem. That is, suppose the animal dies or the plant dies, then the dead animal or the dead plant becomes a source of energy which goes back into the soil with the help of decomposers. Now let's see with this step diagram how energy is flowing in this ecosystem. The red color in this diagram shows how much, the quantity of energy that is flowing from one level to the other, and the blue color is showing the amount of energy that is getting lost when energy is moving from one level to other. So what do you notice? You'll notice that the red color is showing the producers have a lot of energy. Where do they get? So suppose this tree is the producer over here. It's trying to capture as much energy as it can from the sun and converting it into carbohydrates. Now look at the blue region. When the cow or the rabbit or these herbivores are eating the leaves of this tree or the grass, lot of energy is being lost in the form of heat. Why? Because these animals, whatever they feed on, they will convert that food energy or chemical energy into body heat, which is lost to the surrounding, and they will convert some amount of this energy into energy that is lost by respiration also. So at each trophic level, whatever the animal is who is eating the animal in the lower level will lose some amount of energy by respiration and by body heat, which goes out into the atmosphere. Finally, when the eagle or this hawk will feed on snakes, look at how much energy is left that it can get. So the energy is decreasing from the producers to the final carnivore or the tertiary consumer. The energy is decreasing. That is why you will see that the population is in that ecosystem will also gradually adjust accordingly. So you will never see that in an ecosystem there are less producers and more herbivores. If that happens, then ultimately one day will come when all the producers will be eaten up by the herbivores. And then that will actually affect the rest of the food chain. So you can pause the video and read the points. Thank you for pausing. So we see that when we study energy flow in an ecosystem, it will always have 4 components. It will have producers which make their own food. It will have primary consumers which are herbivores that depend on these producers. It will have secondary consumers that eat the flesh of the herbivores, and it will have a population of tertiary consumers which eat the secondary consumers as well as the primary consumers. Finally, something that is not shown in this diagram are the decomposers. They are very, very important because when all of these organisms produce waste or die, it is the role of the decomposers to break them down into simple molecules and add them back to the soil. And that will in turn help the plants to grow. The plants will take those nutrients back to grow. Energy flow and energy loss in an ecosystem. So scientists use different methods to show how energy is moving in an ecosystem. And 3 methods that is there in a syllabus are food chains, food webs, and food pyramids. We already saw how a food chain looks, and it has 4 or 5 important components: the decomposers, producers, the herbivore, carnivore, and the top predator. A food web, on the other hand, is more realistic. So if you go to a forest, for example, you will not see one food chain. You will see many food chains interconnected with each other. So over there you will see that there are different types of decomposers who will decompose different types of waste materials or dead materials, like soil bacteria. Then there will be earthworms. Then there will be many unicellular or single-celled animals in the soil. You will also see some aquatic bacteria which will be near a pond in that area. Then herbivores will be of multiple types, of different niche. Predators also will be having their own niche. All predators will not kill all the herbivores. Some predators will prefer insects. Some predators will prefer birds. But these are many food chains interconnected with each other. So this food web also shows how energy is flowing in a coniferous forest. Now coming to some more important details about food chains. How will you define a food chain? It is a sequence of food transfer from one trophic level to another. So what is trophic level? Nothing but each step in a food chain. So energy coming from the sun to the producer. So producer is a trophic level. Producer makes food and gets eaten up by the herbivore. Herbivore is the next trophic level or primary consumer. The next trophic level is a secondary consumer who eats the primary consumer, and then the tertiary consumer who eats the secondary consumer. Finally, there will be a top predator. Sometimes there is also a quaternary consumer. So there may be many carnivores in one ecosystem, so you can break them down into different levels. You can pause the video and read all the points on this slide. Thank you for pausing. A little more note about the producers, consumers, and decomposers. Producers are called, so plants are called producers because they combine the carbon dioxide and water and they use the sun's energy. This cannot be done by any other organism in the ecosystem. So all the organisms in the ecosystem directly or indirectly depend on the producers. That's why the plants are called producers. Consumers, on the other hand, get their energy by feeding on the producers. And decomposers' job is to break down the waste materials and the dead organisms in the ecosystem. So if they do that, then only nutrients go back into the soil, and those nutrients are later on used by the producers to grow. Now, what is the trophic structure of an ecosystem? Trophic structure, this term actually means how is an ecosystem organized level by level, and in each level what is the feeding structure, means in each level who is making its own food and who is depending on the producer directly, and which level is depending on the herbivorous or the plants or both. The levels through which food energy passes from one group of organism to other is called a trophic level. We have already discussed. Let's look at this image. In this image, you can see how sun is providing lots of light energy to the producer. That is the first trophic level. But again, lot of amount of sun's energy is lost in the form of heat energy. Similarly, when the insects or the herbivores will feed on the leaves of the producer, they will not take 100% of the energy from the plant. Some amount of the energy will be lost in the process of feeding, and some will be lost in the form of heat, because the herbivorous animal will also respire, and when we respire, along with energy, some amount of energy is lost as heat. Same happens for the bird that feeds on the insects. Some energy goes as food into the bird's tummy, and some is lost as heat. So at every trophic level, you will see some energy is going into the body of the animal, and some is getting lost as heat or as waste materials. You will never be able to consume 100% of the energy that you are eating. Some will always remain undigested and will pass out from the body as waste. So what are consumers? The first consumer in our energy flow diagram is the decomposer. You know what the decomposers do. They convert all the dead and decaying matter into nutrients and return them back to the soil. You can pause and read all the points. Okay, now we'll move on to other consumers. Decomposers are not the only consumers. We also have herbivores. Remember, consumers cannot make their own food. So herbivore is a consumer. A carnivore is also a consumer. And then we have omnivorous animals who eat both producers as well as other consumers, like a bear. Crows are also a good example of omnivores. You can pause and take note on these points if you want to. We will move on to the next slide. Coming to another way of showing energy flow, that is food webs. Here you can pause and read some points about what food webs are. Like I told you, they are interconnected food chains. In an ecosystem, in reality, when you observe, there are many food chains working at the same time. And remember, one common error that students do is they think that arrows in a food chain or food web, like this one. So these arrows, they don't show who is eating whom. They show the direction in which energy is flowing. Okay, so note this down in your notes and highlight it, because it's a very common mistake that students make. Arrows in a food web shows the flow of energy. They don't show who is eating whom. They show in which direction the energy is flowing. If you follow these arrows in a food chain, you will ultimately be led to the top predator or the top carnivore, because a top carnivore will not be hunted or eaten by anyone. Unless it is dead, it will decompose by and get broken down by the bacteria and other insects, but it will not be hunted and eaten up by any other animal. So you can do some Google search and try to see different examples of food web. For you, I have one example here on screen. This is a food web in land or terrestrial ecosystem of British Columbia. So you can take a moment and think that what will happen if you remove one particular animal from this ecosystem. If you remove the bear, then it will affect the population of the herbivores. But if you remove just one producer, remember that this ecosystem will not be so badly affected, because there are other producers to provide food for the animals. But yes, let's say the butterfly, if the butterfly only eats insects or takes nectars from these grasses, then the butterfly population will be affected if you remove the grass from this ecosystem. All the arrows will ultimately lead you to the main carnivore or the top carnivore. So that brings us to the end of this lesson, and the next lesson that you will move on to is ecosystem pyramids.